Hello everyone. In today's video, I will be going over our 3-0 notes, which covers graphing linear equations. So here we are going to graph lines in the form y equals mx plus b. This is also known as slope-intercept form. Where m equals slope. And slope is the letter in front of x. So specifically, when we ask for a slope, we're just going to say that number. So if m is 4, that means your slope is 4, not 4x. And then b is your y-intercept. Reminder, the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. So we're going to go through a few examples on how to create a graph based on the equation. Also, on these, you will need 3 points. There will be an exception to this rule, but otherwise always have 3 points on your graph. Number 1, y equals 3x plus 2. So for this, m is 3 and b is 2. And to help us graph, we're going to write this as 3 over 1. And since we have b is 2, we begin at the point 0, 2. We're going to backtrack here. I forgot to mention this when I was going over the basic notes here. Y-intercept, the b is where you begin. It's very nice that that worked out. And it's where you start. On the y-axis. So that's how I knew this point here was 0, 2. So we begin at 0, 2. From there we move according to the slope. Our slope is 3 over 1. And remember, this is rise over run. So rise means up or down, run means left or right. So we would interpret this as up 3 and right 1. So from my first point, I'm going to move up 3, right 1. And all you had to have was 3 points. I'm going to graph a few more. If I wanted to keep going, I would be off the graph. So let's graph some points that are down here. If you want to get the other points, you're going to have to reverse the directions. So instead of up 3, right 1, we're going to move down 3 and left 1. So I'll graph 2 more of those. Now it's really helpful if you have a ruler or even just a flat edge that you can work with to graph these lines. So I have a little ruler here. And then line those up as best as you can. It's not going to look perfect by any means. And make sure you extend it across the whole graph and draw your arrows. Number 2, y equals negative x. M is negative 1. We'll treat that as a negative 1 on the front there. And b is not written. That means it's 0. And we'll rewrite the slope as negative 1 over 1. So we begin at b, which is 0. So our point is 0, 0. And then we move according to our slope. Negative 1 over 1. So that's going to be down 1 and right 1. So we start at 0, 0. That's our first point. And then down 1, right 1. Again, you only need at least 3, but when the points are as close together as these are, it is helpful to graph a lot of them. And then again, if you want to graph some of the other ones over here, you go backwards. So we go up 1, left 1. Something like that. And then we graph our line. Number 3, y equals 1/2 x minus 2. M is -2. Well, 1/2. B is -2. So we begin at 0, -2. And then we move according to our slope, which is 1/2. So we move up 1 and right 2. So we have 0, -2. And then up 1, right 2. Then if you want to go backwards, down 1, left 2. And then we graph. Number 4, y equals -3/4 x minus 4. M equals -3/4, and B equals -4. So we begin at 0, -4, and we move according to -3/4. So that is going to be down 3, right 4. So we begin at 0, -4, and then down 3, right 4. And then again, to get some other points, I'm going to go backwards. So I go up 3 and left 4. And then we graph. Two more. And actually, before I get to that, I want to go over another point over all of these graphs. Let's go back up to 1 and 2 and compare. Notice, visually speaking, how the graph is moving up. Like that. This means we have a positive slope. This is important because this is a very quick way to kind of visually check your graph and make sure that it at least looks like it's on the right track. So since this is a positive slope visually, that means my slope itself should be positive. And it is. We have a positive 3, so it is going the correct direction. Whereas this one over here is moving down as we move to the right. As we move across the graph, it's going down. So that's a negative slope. And again, our slope should have a negative, which it does. So this is important when you're graphing on your own, especially on a test or a quiz. Visually check and make sure that the type of slope that it makes matches the type of slope you have. So if I have a positive number up here and this is a negative, that's not correct. We'll need to look into that. We're going to have to regraph, unfortunately. So just always do that. Quick check. It just takes a few seconds. Make sure it's going the right direction. So for number 3, it's going up to the right, meaning our slope should be positive, and it is. And then number 4, which we just graphed, it's moving down to the right, so it should be negative slope, which it is. So that works out. 5 and 6 are very special cases. Number 5, y equals 4. Whenever you see this, this means you have a horizontal line through 4 on the y-axis. That is what that means. When you just have y equals a number, it's a horizontal line through that number on that axis. So in this case, the y-axis. So you find 4 on the y-axis. And again, it's a horizontal line. just to kind of talk about this, we can discuss what m and b would look like for this specific equation. I'll start with b. B is the y-intercept. It's at 0, 4. M, this is a slope of 0. When it's perfectly horizontal, we call that 0 slope. Meanwhile, if we have x equals 4, this is a vertical line through 4 on the x-axis. So again, if you have x equals a number, then it's through a vertical line through that number on, in this case, the x-axis. So find 4 on the x-axis, and then draw a vertical line through it. When I said earlier that there's an exception to having 3 points, this is it. On these graphs, I am perfectly fine with you plotting a single point, as long as the point's in the correct place and then you have the correct line through it. That's all that matters. And then again, just to explore a bit more, let's talk about m and b for this equation. B is the y-intercept. If we look at our graph here, we notice this line does not approach or even cross the y-axis. So there is no y-intercept. So there is no b. So none would be the answer there. M, when our line goes vertical, completely straight up and down, we call this an undefined slope. Backside. Graph lines in the form ax plus by equals c, find x and y intercepts. Few things. You're going to have 2 points here, so need 2 points for each graph. And those points are the x and y intercepts. So that's what you're going to be finding this time. And then this form, ax plus by equals c, is called standard form. And then you need to know how to find the x and y intercepts. So let's discuss that. To find the x-intercept, that means visually that we are on the x-axis. And if we're a point on the x-axis, any of these points here, they all have one thing in common. Their y value is at 0. So you plug in 0 for y. And then you solve for x. Y, it's the opposite. You plug in 0 for x. And then solve for y. So that is what we're going to do on all of these problems. We have to make sure they are in standard form first. So to make sure they are in standard form, make sure that the x and the y are both on the left side together, and then you have your constant, your number c, on the right side. So for number 7, we have 4x plus 2y equals 12. And if I split that down the middle, x and y are on the left, as they should be, and then this 12 would be our c. So it's exactly what it needs to be. This looks how it should. So we can just do our process. We'll make a t-chart. We'll plug in 0 for x, and then we'll plug in 0 for y, and then we're going to solve. So we'll solve for y, and then we'll solve for x when we do this one. So let's start with x equals 0. That means we have 4 times 0 plus 2y equals 12. 4 times 0 is just 0, so this essentially disappears. And we have 2y equals 12. To solve for y, we just divide by 2. Y is 6. And then let's set y equal to 0 to get our x. This time we have 4x plus 2 times 0 equals 12. 2 times 0 is 0, so we have 4x equals 12. Divide by 4, x equals 3. These are my two intercepts. 0, 6, and 3, 0. Like I said, you only need 2 points here, so it's these 2 points. And then we will draw a line connecting the two together. And that's it. Number 8, negative 4x minus y equals 2. Again, what's important is you make sure that the x and the y are on the left side as they are here. Don't worry so much about the positives in the original equation. It's okay to have negatives. That just means a and b are negative numbers here. And then the c is all by itself on the right side, as it should be. So we are in the correct form, so we can move on and do this process. So we have x and y. We'll plug in 0 for x and then 0 for y. So let's do x equals 0 first. Here we have negative 4 times 0 minus y equals 2. Negative 4 times 0 is just 0, so again this is gone. We have negative y equals 2. And remember, this is like a negative 1. So we divide off the negative 1 because we just want a 1 in front of y. Basically, we don't want a negative y. We want positive y. These cancel. 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. So when x is 0, y is negative 2. And then let's plug in for y equals 0. Here we have negative 4x minus y is 0 equals 2. The minus 0, we don't have to worry about it. Negative 4x equals 2. Divide by negative 4. X equals 2 divided by negative 4. I'm going to simplify that down to negative 1/2. If you keep it as negative 2/4, that's okay. Because on the graph, they're going to be in the same place. Darken that a bit to create that separation. Now I have my 2 points. Let's graph. 0, negative 2. Negative 1/2, 0. There are my x and y intercepts. I will graph those together. If you have not been using a ruler up to this point, it is preferred that you use one for these problems, especially when the points are close together like these two are. Helps you make a more accurate line. Now in class, I only did 3 of these, so in the interest of time, I'm going to do 3 as well. I'll have the other 3 posted in the completed version of these notes. For my third problem, I am going to do 11. 5y equals 2x minus 10. Now for this problem, I need x and y on the left and then c on the right. So I do have my y, but I need my x over here. And then my c is on the right side where it should be. So I need to move the 2x over there. So we do that by subtraction. So I subtract 2x on both sides, bring down the negative 10, and then I have negative 2x plus 5y. And those are in the correct form. Now if I look, I have x and y on the left side as they should be, and they're together. X comes first, y comes second, and then over here I have c, just like I should. Now let's plug in our values and solve for our intercepts. So we'll let x be 0, and then we'll let y be 0. So if we have x equals 0, then we have negative 2 times 0 plus 5y equals negative 10. Make sure you're using the equation we just came up with. This cancels, and we have 5y equals negative 10. Divide by 5, y equals negative 2. And then if we have y equals 0, we have negative 2x plus 5 times 0 equals negative 10. 5 times 0 is 0. Negative 2x equals negative 10 divided by negative 2. X equals, and negative divided by negative is a positive, so this is a positive 5. So these are my 2 points, and I'll graph those. 0, negative 2, and 5, 0. Alright, that is all I'm going to do for this video. Reminder, I will post the full solutions to 9, 10, and 12 after this video goes live. So ideally, I would like you to try those 3 on your own. Make sure you can get my answers without my help, and then compare your answers against mine to make sure they match. I hope this video has been helpful. If you have any additional questions over the material or just anything in general to do with what we're doing, feel free to come ask in person or email me. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!